So, I didn't really know whether I should report this news or not, but I felt like there was going to be a portion of you guys that didn't have an opportunity to hear this news. And well, the news is so just downright bizarre that I had to break it out to you guys. I originally had a different plan for today. We were going to launch a brand new series surrounding trash talk in the NFL and in NFL history. So if there are any other trash talking moments that you'd like to see, I'm thinking instances like Jalen Ramsey versus AJ Green, Cortland Finnegan versus Andre Johnson, when Tom Brady was talked trash to by Richard Sherman, and so on and so forth. We have a whole playlist on the channel. But if you guys didn't hear, there's a reason why Tyrod Taylor didn't play this past weekend, and it appears as though he's not going to be able to play for a while. And when you guys find out why, it's going to kind of drive you a little crazy because it's something that you would never expect to happen in the NFL. Now, before we get to the content, I'd just like to remind you guys that I'm giving away a PlayStation 5 on my Twitter account. A link to that's in the description down below. And of course, please sack that like button for the YouTube algorithm because it pretty much gets the word about my content out there. I do this full time and I would like to continue doing this full time. So leaving a like and subscribing really will go a far way in doing that. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, guys? Guys, a lot of us peg Justin Herbert, and this is absolutely unfair, but I'm gonna admit it, like even I did it a bit myself, as probably the player with the biggest bust potential out of all quarterbacks in this past NFL draft. And I've said this over and over and over again on my NBA channel, The Flight Mike, but I think I need to say this here. However hard it is to evaluate a successful NBA draft prospect, I think it's like 1,000 times harder to evaluate a good NFL draft prospect. And it's damn near impossible to be able to look at a pool of quarterbacks, judge them based off of their college football tape, and say X player is going to be the best. For example, this past NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals didn't have much to go off of to say that Joe Burrow is going to be the best quarterback out of him, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, and whoever the hell was drafted in the later rounds. I'm looking at you, Jordan Love. But regardless, each and every team made a pick based off of who they thought was the best, and I feel like in the Chargers case, it was a little bit easier because, well, Justin Herbert kind of fell into their laps, and for the most part, a lot of us said that Justin Herbert was probably going to be the biggest bust. And I don't know if it's because he has long Blaine Gabbert-like hair, or if it's his system in Oregon, or the fact that there hasn't been a successful quarterback to come out of Oregon yet. But for some reason, a lot of NFL fans pegged him as the player with the highest bust potential, but he surprised all of us in a game that nobody expected him to play. And I'm going to admit, I thought that the Chargers pivoted to Justin Herbert against the Kansas City Chiefs as some sort of wild card play to throw Steve Spagnuolo and the Kansas City Chiefs defense off. But we kind of found out otherwise. We found out that the reason why Justin Herbert was inserted, and by the way, he had 22 completions off of 33 attempts, 66% completion percentage, 311 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, a quarterback rating of 94.4. As a matter of fact, and he also had a rushing TD. As a matter of fact, the only mistake I think Herbert made, towards the end, he had an opportunity to score a touchdown, but he made the wrong read. He got a little rattled, and the Chargers had to eventually settle for a field goal, which allowed the Chiefs to finish the game with a field goal. So we all thought that the reason why Tyrod Taylor wasn't in the game was because he was a little bit too passive in week 1, and there was no way in hell that that's going to fly against this Kansas City Chiefs defense that features the likes of Chris Jones and Tyrann Mathieu alongside other fantastic Kansas City Chiefs defensive players. But it's a little bit more than that, because apparently Tyrod Taylor was the go-to quarterback before that game. And the reason why he didn't end up playing was because his lung was punctured due to medical malpractice by one of the team doctors that were trying to administer a pain-killing agent so he could play the game. You see, Tyrod Taylor had cracked ribs going into the game. And there's no way you could play with cracked ribs without numbing that pain somehow, some way. And I'm sure there's going to be some sort of long-term ramifications if he did play with those cracked ribs. But what ended up happening was, and this is according to Adam Schefter, the Chargers team doctor accidentally punctured his own quarterback, Tyrod Taylor's lung just before kickoff Sunday while trying to administer a pain-killing injection to the quarterback's cracked ribs. League and team sources told ESPN. And Schefter continues to say that doctors have advised Tyrod Taylor not to play indefinitely due to his punctured lung. The Chargers were hoping Taylor would be able to start Sunday, but doctors are against it. This kind of reminds me of a less extreme version of what happened to Sharrif Floyd. You see, Sharrif Floyd had an injury in the 2015 NFL season, and after his knee injury, he had to undergo surgery. Well, unfortunately, during the surgery, it was found that he had nerve damage following the meniscus surgery back in 2016. This was considered to be career-threatening, and Sharrif Floyd was actually in the process of suing the Minnesota Vikings doctors as a result of this. And, well, you could say something very similar is happening here. A lot of people are very upset about what's happening to Tyrod Taylor because clearly this is career-threatening. This is affecting how the man breathes. This is going to affect his conditioning, and we're in the midst of a pandemic. So if you puncture your lung, by the way, COVID is a respiratory illness, I would like to remind you. So if you have a punctured lung, that could potentially kill you. All right, so I'm not going to dance around this topic at all. So essentially, Tyrod Taylor lost his job due to his team's own medical malpractice. And you see, this is probably why Anthony Lynn, no matter how well Justin Herbert played in that game against the Kansas City Chiefs, came out and said that the starting job is still Tyrod Taylor's, because losing your starting job as a result of your team's own medical malpractice really just isn't right. It's absolutely horrific. Even though Justin Herbert probably looks like the real deal and seems like he's ready to take the reins, the fact that the reason why Tyrod Taylor hasn't been able to play this past week due to his own team doctors taking him out of the equation just doesn't sit right with a lot of individuals. Now typically I'd go easy on the doctor, but apparently this procedure, which is literally administering some sort of anesthetic so Tyrod Taylor could get on the field, has a 99% success rate. You're not cutting the man open. You know, it's all about knowing where the lungs are in relation to the ribs to the body. And I'm pretty sure that any man that needs to stick a needle into an individual's rib cage should have good information about where that area is and where to avoid. So that's my bit on this. Be ready because you're probably going to get a double upload day today, so be excited for that. I'd like to hear what your take is on the situation. I expect a decent amount of jokes such as, the doctor must have had Justin Herbert in fantasy, and other stuff like that. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.